Welcome, you beautiful people. I am so happy that you've joined us here in our Marriage Moments with Pastor Ron. I am so excited to have this opportunity to be able to share some nuggets with you about marriage. Have my couple here ready to go as a prop. We have time that we're going to spend together, and I'm just excited. Over these next 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at several topics. Today, we're going to be looking at spending time together. Then next week, we'll look at communications. We'll look into some conflict resolution. And then we'll talk a little bit about, probably in a roundtable situation, about how to have a date night. Excuse me, let me take a little sip of coffee to keep going this morning. So good. Thank you very much. All right, let me also let you or encourage you to go to our website and look online there. You can see a TV guide sort of thing as to the different things that are going to be happening. I'm so excited with what Pastor Chris has come up with all the different departments being able to share some ideas and some thoughts with you, whether it's the men, the women, marriage, children, even finances. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So let me encourage you to go online and check out the different avenues that we have there that you can be able to log into. Once they're up and posted, they'll be up and posted so that you can see them there or through our YouTube channel, and just go back to them at any time. I know that for the sessions that I'll have with you, I'll have some notes that you'll be able to download. Just look in the description below there on the YouTube channel. You can download those notes there and have them. Time of questions that you can ask one another and spend together in doing that type of stuff. But for today, let's get into the topic of spending time together. Let me ask you, do you remember the time that you and your spouse were dating? Remember what that was like? Where you could not wait for that time to come where you got off work and you would drive over to his house or to her house and spend as much time together with him as you could. I remember my wife, Miss Luann, and I, when we were dating. We dated for a year and a half, and we went out on 4 physical dates. I was living in Mexico. She was living in Dearborn Heights area right outside of Detroit, and so we didn't have a chance to see each other every day. A couple of months, she'd come down and spend 2-3 days, and 2-3 months after that, I would go up and spend time with her, and back and forth. And that last time I went up so that we could get married after a year and a half. So believe me, when I had the opportunity to spend time with Luann, I would make the most of it. I remember one night, I was staying with some friends of mine, and I remember one night when I went over to her house, and we were visiting, because she was still working. I actually picked her up from work, and we went home and went to her house, and so we had supper and visiting there. And I mean, I was there 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I remember her dad coming out and said, "Hey, Ron, turn out the lights when you leave, okay? We're going to bed." And I thought, okay, I get the hint. You want me to leave already? But I spent as much time as I could with her. And when she would come down and visit me, I'd stay at my parents' house, and she would stay in my house. But yeah, we'd spend as much time as we could together. And man, we would just enjoy those times that we would spend together. I remember when we were together like that, man, it's like we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We wanted to hold hands. We wanted to hug. We wanted to just be together. I know that we would go swimming in our pool and play tag and all these different things, but boy, we just could not seem to get enough. And then the day came, we got married. Went off on our honeymoon, had a great time on our honeymoon, and then when we get back home, it's like now we settle into our routines. I go back to doing my missionary work. She goes back to cleaning the house and being around the house and preparing. Actually, at the time, she was studying Spanish, studying how to speak Spanish. And it seems like soon in our marriages, we kind of develop that routine that we get into, the things that we're used to doing. And now that we're able to be together all the time, kind of like we get to the point where we take each other for granted. I know we really don't, but it kind of seems that way because of the time that we spend really communicating. Soon, we're not talking that much. Soon, we're not together that much. And I think part of it is the idea, well, she's in the other room. I can go at any time and talk to her. I can see her at any time now. Not as before when we were, miles apart and could not see each other. And so now we can be together all the time. But like I said, we get into our routines of going to work and possibly both of you are working, and so you're gone to work, and Then children come along, so now we're investing time in our children and doing that role, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit as well. But then, in our present time today, the pandemic hits. And the order comes down from the governor, shelter in place. Don't get out unless you have to. So now all of a sudden we're at home. Most of us had the ability to be able to work at home. Some, unfortunately, lost the opportunity to go to work, so they were at home as well. And so now all of a sudden we're kind of thrust into being together all the time. And this began to cause some problems because we weren't used to that. We're not used to spending so much time together. I'm sure that the tensions would increase all the time. This being together, the arguments would kind of escalate a little bit more because we weren't used to spending so much time together. And at some points, we'd get to the place where I just don't know what to do. I mean, if I do this, it's right. If I do that, it's wrong. And I don't even know how to react or what to do or what to say. And it's all because now all of a sudden we're together seemingly 24/7. And I think that sometimes we get to the point that we're asking the question, why did I get married? I mean, is this what I got married for, to be arguing all the time? Now, listen, I know we have our good times, we have, but it seems like this arguing and this being together all the time is just too much. So we ask ourselves that question, why did I get married? Well, I don't know about you, but Miss Luann and I got married so that we could enjoy our time together, so that we could create good memories together. But then we asked the question, how did it end up like this? Oh, that coffee's so good. How did we end up like this? How did we get to this point that it seems like most of the time we're spending it arguing? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about time problems. Let's talk about how we use our time effectively one with the other. Did you know that the best way to spell love is T-I-M-E? That's right, T-I-M-E. Time together is one of the most important, most necessary elements to have a successful relationship. We seem to get to the point to where we just don't have time for one another. Or it's gotten to the point to where like time together is the lowest priority that we have in our relationship. We have this list of things to do, and kind of there on the bottom of it is this spending time together. Again, once the honeymoon is over, we both kind of go into that which we're used to doing, whether it's going to the gym, working outside, working inside, being on the computer. We may be in the same room, but in reality, we're miles apart. We're miles apart from one another because we don't communicate, we don't talk, we don't share with one another's. I think at that time then, one of the things that sets in for us is that we begin to realize how opposite we are. And yeah, that saying that we have, that opposites attract, it's pretty true. Opposites do attract. And now that we've been together for a time and we've kind of gotten used to one another, now we're beginning to see those flaws that Mom tried to point out to us about them. Now we're starting to understand these differences that we have one with the other. One likes to go out and do things. The other one likes to stay home. One likes to stay up late at night and watch movies. No, the other one wants to go to bed early. That was kind of the case in my marriage. Man, I was a night owl, and Miss Luann was a early to bed, early to rise because of her work schedule. She would get up at 5 in the morning to get ready to go to work. Man, I wouldn't go to bed sometimes till 5 in the morning. And it's just that difference in our lives. You know, some like Mexican food. Others like, I can't stand Mexican food. And I'm like, what? How can you not like Mexican food? You know, I tell some people that when I met Miss Luann, she wasn't real sure what a flour tortilla was. Wasn't real sure what chicken fried steak was all about. I'm like, how can you not know these things? Well, she didn't grow up in a culture that enjoyed those types of foods. And so, yes, opposites do attract. One likes to do exercises. The other one doesn't. My wife's on this kick now that she likes to get up early and go on her bicycle and go out for rides and She'll text me later. She said, I rode 12 miles today. And I'm like, yeah, good for you. She wrote me the other day and said, 16 miles today. And I'm like, whew, I'm glad I don't have a bicycle, or you'd have me out there doing the same thing as well. But it's good. She likes to do exercises. She likes to be active. She likes to be busy all the time. Well, I'm a melancholy. Melancholies like to just give me a task, put me in a room, I'll be there by myself, and I'll be fine. But we begin to notice these things about each other, how opposites attract, how that if you like one thing, I don't. And so we start to understand that. Sometimes we don't know how to work through those things, but we need to learn how to. We'll talk about that more. There'll be some exercises that you can do that as I said, that you can download and work together on that. But let me share with you a common pitfall in our marriages, something that seems to happen to all of us during our married life. And it's when we evolve into doing our own things. And I find this especially happens once the children come along. And of course, by necessity, when kids come along, mom's got to be more on hand with them. You know, they're able to take care of the babies better than we as men do at times. I'm not saying that men can't do it. I'm just saying that seemingly the women do a better job of that. And we just kind of evolve into doing our own things. The man goes to work, and boy, he puts everything into the work because he wants to climb that ladder there at work and make up, better money and to provide for the family better. But in the process of that, we seem to lose each other. Like I said, we can be in the same room, but we'll be miles apart because there is not much time spent together talking and communicating. As we raise our children, we do a great job in that. I mean, we'll go with them to birthday parties. And by the way, have you seen that new way of doing birthday parties now? I think they call them what? Birthday parades or something like that. My wife and I went on one yesterday where you're in your car and you drive by the person's house that has the birthday, and they're sitting outside there with all kinds of balloons and stuff, and you honk your horns at them and you wave at them from the window. And Miss Luann had her little cubby bear and was saying hi to one of her little cubby kids that had a birthday yesterday. And I thought that's pretty neat, the way to do that. You just drive by and kind of give them a little card and keep on going. You don't have to eat cake, you don't have to eat ice cream, worry about all those kind of calories coming in. But I thought that was pretty neat. But we do that. We build a great relationship with our kids. We have birthday parties for them. And when it was possible, we would go watch them if they played sports, or if they were in the band, we would go and watch them do that. And then, like in my case, when our kids turn teenagers, boy, you're there to try to help them through those crises that they have in their lives as well. And then without realizing it, we fall into a very common marital pitfall, is we lose each other. We lose each other because we don't know each other. We don't know each other because we've not been able to spend that quality time together that we need. If couples want to remain and maintain a healthy relationship, they must put a high priority of moments shared between the two of them. For marriage to be successful, time together is absolutely necessary. It's absolutely necessary. So I would ask the question of you at this time: is your marriage growing, or is it drifting? Is your marriage growing, or is it drifting? There's a strong correlation between the health of a marriage and the amount of time the two spouses spend together. Great amount of correlation. It's even possible to predict how healthy a marriage is based on the amount of time that they spend together. Your marriage will either be growing or it's going to be drifting. It doesn't stand still. You're either growing towards one another or you're drifting away from one another. And sometimes that is so subtle in the lives of people. We don't even realize it. Yeah, I'm spending time at my work, and yes, I'm spending time with the kids, but are we spending time with one another? Are we sharing quality time together? Husbands and wives clearly need that one-on-one time together. It allows them to engage in real, adult, and meaningful conversation. And it gives them a chance to lose all the worries and just come together and have fun together and enjoy lives together. You might be asking, well, Pastor Ron, how do you do that? Well, let me share with you some marriage time marriage time zones. Many couples, like I said, don't spend that one-on-one time together. They either don't go out together, or if they do go out, they go out always in company of other people. And I guess that's okay from time to time, but if I'm going out in the company of another couple, I'm going to spend my time in them and not that time in my wife or my husband. So it's time for us to be able to get that together. See, time together opens channels for deeper bonds and better conversation. Time together opens up the channels for us to have deeper bonds and better conversation. This allows for stronger emotional ties, which often leads to a deeper level of sexual intimacy. Uh-oh, I think I just got his attention with that one. Let me read it to you again. Time together opens up channels of deep bonds and better conversations. This allows for stronger emotional ties, which often leads to a deeper level of sexual intimacy. It's that time spent together, investing in one another. It helps us to set goals. It helps us to make plans, mutual plans. It helps us dream together. I often ask questions of couples in my office. What's your 5-year plan? Where would you like to see your marriage be in 5 years? What's the direction that you would like to see your marriage go in? Well, to get to that goal, you've got to spend time together. You've got to get together and talk about it. We've got to get together and share those dreams and those ideas with one another. There are 4 levels that we should grow in our relationship. Let me share those with you. These will be in the notes that you can download down below, as I've said. The first level is connections. We must have connections. Building a routine of spending this one-on-one time together. And they tell us, those who study these things tell us that the best way is to spend 20 to 30 minutes together each day. Each day, connections. Second one is dates. Go out on dates. When is your date night? We're going to talk about that hopefully in our 4th session together. How do you do dates? Where do you go on a date? Dates don't have to be expensive. It's just going out once a week, or at least twice a month, and doing something together with your spouse, just the 2 of you. And like I said, it doesn't have to be expensive. Just going out to the park and walking and visiting, or going and sharing an ice cream or something like that, but spending time together on a date. Number 3, have extended dates. What do you mean, Pastor Ron? Have extended dates. Every couple of months, go out on longer dates, 2-3 hours at a time. And let me just share this idea with you real quick. I don't mind the fact that you and your wife, when it was possible, we could go to the movies and watch a movie, but I don't count that as an extended date, because that's my wife and I staring at a screen and watching what's going on there instead of us spending time together, talking to one another. Pardon me. So every couple of months, go out on an extended date, spending time together. Have getaways. Get some getaways where you can go away together and do some things. Here at our church, we always encourage people once a year to go, usually in November, to Weekend to Remember, where you can go and spend a weekend together and then receive some instruction, some encouragement for your marriage. So we encourage those things, extended dates and getaways. You say, Pastor Ron, we can't afford that. Well, maybe you should go check out the Farias channel on finances. Learn how to set up a budget and put a little money away each paycheck towards that extended date. From time to time, it's a great thing. I think it would be a great thing to save up and go get a hotel room. You and your wife, go to the island, find a room out there and just spend quality time together. Have a getaway. Spending time with your spouse requires a compromise. It requires a compromise in our time. It's more than just hanging out together when we have time to do it. It's making time to do it, making a commitment to spend time together. I know sometimes it just kind of happens that way, where I go into the kitchen, you're there, and I can sit down with a good cup of coffee and we can just kind of visit a little bit. But for the most time, it has to be an intentional time. We've got to plan it. We've got to put it on our schedules. It's got to be something that we agree that at this time, at this moment, we're going to exclude any other invitations, exclude any other things, and we're going to spend time together talking. Now, let me say this real quick because it comes to my mind. I'm not asking you to schedule a time together to fight. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a time that you guys can sit down together and just share your dreams, share your plans, share your ideas. And it has to be something that we do intentional. Plan to spend time together. Boy, I hope that you talk about some of these points that we've talked about. Incorporate them into your lives if you don't have them. Like I said, a lot of these points you'll have in those notes that you can download there at the bottom. Check those out. Download that study and see what you can come up with, you and your spouse. But plan to spend time together. It's important. We need to grow together and not drift apart. Well, hey, I want to thank you for being with us today. Had a great time sharing with you about spending time together. Next week, we're going to talk about communication. Do you know what the difference is between talking and communicating? We're going to study that next week. Thanks again for joining us today on this Marriage Moments. So happy that you were able to be with us. Trust that you received a blessing today. God bless you. We'll see you next week.